Hi everyone, welcome to the Boys Club. I'm Clarke Wolfe.
I'm Holly Payne.
And this is our show, You Should See. So this is a show where we tell you something that you should see. Basically, we want to shed some light on something.
Yeah, well, the past few episodes we've been talking about movies that we both absolutely loved, that are already kind of, people have heard about them. They're films, Moon and A Fish Called Wanda, both films that, at some point, whether you saw it or not, you kind of heard about it.
Right.
The one we're talking about this week is probably one that, it got buried.
And it's divisive.
Very divisive.
But I think Holly and I both have a...
It's your fault I watched it. It's her fault I watched it,
okay.
And it gave me nightmares.
It's horrible.
I watched it really late at night, too.
It's so okay, so the movie we're talking about is Lee Daniels' The Paperboy.
Yeah.
The Paperboy. Now, most people, if you've heard of it, you've heard of it because it's the movie where Nicole Kidman pees on Zac Efron.
That's the thing that you get to read about it the most. If you Google The Paperboy, it's the movie Nicole Kidman peed on Zac Efron.
And, to be fair,
she really does pee on him.
She really does, but yeah. I was really disappointed when I got to that scene because it wasn't anything weird. He got stung by a jellyfish.
That is the least of the weirdness in
this
film.
That is a good point.
That is the smallest little, it's like, Nicole Kidman just peed on Zac Efron.
He got stung by a jellyfish.
Anyway,
to be fair, they did that on Friends. They did that scene on Friends. So let's you remember when, one of...
I'm sorry, you just connected The Paperboy with Friends.
I sure did. Monica gets stung by a jellyfish and Chandler has to pee on her.
You don't see it like we do in that movie.
No,
though.
you definitely don't. Okay, so let's talk about The Paperboy.
Now I just have a picture of Chandler and... Oh, never mind.
Chandler Bong. Okay, so let's talk about The Paperboy. The Paperboy made its debut at the Cannes Film Festival in 2012. It was in competition for the Palme d'Or. It did not win.
What?
And the reaction coming out of Cannes was especially divisive. Half the people that saw it said, this is a pulp classic. It's campy. It's ridiculous. It's
dark.
Yes, and then
I wouldn't even say it's camp. I mean, there's some camp qualities to it.
A lot of people, that was the reaction, and then the other half was, this is terrible. How did we go from Precious to this? Outrage, and how did he get this cast and whatever, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I saw The Paperboy one night on Netflix, and
Are you gonna reveal how you saw it?
Well, we'll just say that I was under the influence of something.
I'm going to actually point out that this is partly why I watched this movie. Because this one over here, we were hanging out and she tells me, she's like, so I was dog sitting at a friend's house. And
I was under the influence
of something. And I watched a double bill. And I was like, oh yeah, what'd you watch? Antichrist and The Paperboy while...
Under the influence of something.
I was like, you did what?
Yeah, I started with The Paperboy, and then I was like...
Only Clarke would do this, by the way.
You guys are learning so much about me right now. So I started with The Paperboy, and then...
it's because you said, because as I recall, you said, it's because I don't think I could get through it in any other way.
That's true. That's very true. And
right.
A lot of times, sometimes you need a little help.
Yeah.
That was definitely the case with Antichrist. Don't even get me started.
Some people watch Harold and Kumar.
Some people do. I don't know. I definitely could not get through Antichrist any other way. That's for darn sure, but I'm not even going to go into... Of
course the toddler falls out the window.
Of course! Fucking Lars von Trier.
Oh, God.
Sorry,
anyway.
I'm going off on a tangent.
Getting back to The Paperboy.
The point is, The Paperboy. Okay, so now here's the thing about The Paperboy. I have talked to friends who I recommend this to, or say, you will either love it or you'll hate it, but it's... And they often say that they get to a certain point in the movie and they're like, nothing, why am I watching this?
I'm guilty of this.
Yes, so.
Actually, yeah, it's when you said you gotta see this, one way or another, you should watch this. I started watching it and I was not confused by it, but I was kind of bored, actually.
Yeah.
For the first 20 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'll watch the rest of this later. I kind of, in my head, I was like, I just want to see when Zac Efron, gets peed on. Because I was like, okay, that's the weird scene, I'll get to that. So it took me actually 2 times. And the second time I watched it, I just let it ride and I watched the entire thing from beginning to end. And by the end of it was so traumatized by what I'd seen. And so it was so unexpected because this is not like a film like any other film that I've seen. It's like deep swamp pulp horror I don't even know how to
It's
describe
twisted.
it.
But you know what's crazy is it comes with this sneak attack. Because what happens is something happens about 40 minutes into the movie and you're just like, that was intense.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true. I just over-exaggerated because there's a sex scene that comes before this that I have never, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to spoil it. All I'm going to say is
you're just going to be watching it like this.
I had never seen anything like that before.
No.
And especially involving 4 A-list actors.
That's one thing I really want to emphasize, too, is that this film is starring Matthew McConaughey, John Cusack, Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron, and Macy Gray.
And Macy Gray is great, by the way.
Macy Gray is incredible. In fact,
good.
I watched it with my boyfriend, and I said, do you know who that is? He's like, no. And I was like, it's Macy Gray. He had no idea. I mean, it's really, you don't really expect her to pull out a performance like this. Nevertheless, I don't think she's even done any major films
I think
before,
if she's appeared in anything, it's been in much smaller
fantastic
capacity.
So
she's
natural.
Great.
She's kind of a natural actress.
And very heartfelt.
Yeah.
Very, very emotional, very, very moving. Her work is very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
we've got like what 5 heavy hitters.
Yeah, and you've got this sex scene that comes early, and you're just like, whoa, that was crazy. But then the darkness comes at one scene with Matthew McConaughey. I'm not gonna go into what it is. You can watch for yourself. And after that, you're just like, wait a minute, and it just takes a turn. I always think of that Ron Burgundy quote, well, that escalated quickly, because it goes from, and
it just keeps ramping up from there. So it's like one of those, once you get past the sort of quiet, seemingly dull intro, it's gonna pull the rug out from under you and do it more than once.
Yes, absolutely.
And the performances by these actors they're so counter what you normally see. You don't. I mean, I can imagine Nicole Kidman doing something like this because I saw her in To Die For, and she's brilliant in To Die For, and she plays another extreme character in this that's very southern, but it's not. It seems almost caricatured, but because it's Nicole Kidman, it's not, because she's such a consummate actress.
And didn't that one come out around 95?
Yes.
So before she was Nicole Kidman, before she had the Oscar, before she was out on her own, not married to Tom Cruise, before she was this A-list, now she's like, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Another great performance, and not surprising that she's capable. What surprised me was that she would choose this type of role in 2012.
That's actually maybe the most surprising thing about this film for me was the bravery by all the actors to choose this material, because it's very dark and it could be perceived the wrong way.
Which I think a lot of people...
But I think that's why they did it intentionally.
Yes, and so
John Cusack especially.
Let's talk about Cusack.
Okay, first of all, I gotta say, Cusack, I've had a lifelong crush on John Cusack.
Did this kill that for you?
No, that's what's wrong with me. It didn't. It should have. I should have been like, oh no, I can never see him in the same light again. I still love you, John Cusack. But anyway, it's the darkest thing I've ever seen him do.
Hilary Van Wetter is his character, and he's in prison because he is accused and convicted of murdering a sheriff. And Matthew McConaughey's character is Zac Efron's older brother, and McConaughey's character comes to town, with an amazing British actor. Yellow O is his last name.
Yes.
I don't remember his first name.
Where else have I seen
He's
him?
been in a lot of things, and he's incredible. But Yellow O is how you pronounce his last name. I looked it up.
Incredible.
But he's great, and so they come to town because they are journalists, and they believe they've compiled evidence to prove that John Cusack's character, is not guilty.
I'm going to say that there's here's one thing. If you love True Detective as much as we did, this film is totally worth seeing. And
if you appreciated the darkness of True Detective, and were maybe a little disappointed with the finale, and perhaps that it didn't end darkly enough for you,
this will change that.
You might want to watch The Paperboy.
Right.
Just saying. But yeah, so they come to town, and but Cusack, Cusack is he plays, so he's this convicted murderer that they're trying
he's
to,
living in and he's like way out in the deep.
He's an alligator hunter. I don't know
right.
what the name is, but he kills alligators. Also, this is a period piece, by the way, just so you guys know. It takes place in the 70s.
70s?
70s.
Okay, wow. Fashion really didn't change much since the 50s in the 70s in the deep swamp. But it's interesting too because Nicole Kidman's character, her pen pal, or she's in a relationship with Hillary.
Yes.
And they feel like they have this really intense, or at least she feels like there's this really intense connection between the two of them, and things get really, really, really weird.
It's just and I rewatched it. I rewatched it this morning. Not under the influence of anything.
See, I didn't rewatch
and
it. I will eventually.
Well, I was really, all jokes aside, I was able to appreciate a lot about this movie for realsies. I really
such a cute term to use for
this movie. But the acting, I think the acting is very good. I like Lee Daniels' direction. I like what he does with the camera. I like how he uses filters in a weird way. I like how he lights it in strange ways.
You know what's interesting? It's the only movie that doesn't say Lee Daniels the Paperboy. Mm-hmm. It's like, for me, I mean, I like this movie a lot, and I didn't realize it was Lee Daniels until after I'd seen it. And I'm not the biggest Lee Daniels fan in general, but now I kind of, after seeing it, I kind of wanted to see other stuff that he did.
And I've read, and I haven't seen, I believe it's called Shadow Boxer. Is that his first film?
I don't know. I
haven't seen it. It's called Shadow Boxer, and I had read in some of the reviews of The Paperboy that we are about to lose power. I believe that I read that that this was more similar to his first feature. Okay. And also another thing, when I was Googling it this morning, was a couple of critics, when they saw it at Cannes, had gone back or went back and re-reviewed the movie and rewatched it. And one in particular, it was a British publication, and I don't remember exactly what it was. But they went back and they said, "I'm really glad I rewatched this because I did not get it the first time." And there's a lot more to this than maybe we gave it credit for. Yeah. So
I'm gonna rewatch it, absolutely. I actually love this movie. I think it's a really, really, really good film, and I think it's really out of the mainstream. So far out of the mainstream that it's one that it makes sense why it passed by everyone's radar. Well, I understand why it did, but
and once again,
why it was so divisive.
It's not for everybody.
Definitely not. It's definitely a movie that you're either gonna love or you're gonna hate. We both happen to really like it, but we may be in the minority.
And that's fine. I mean, you guys might watch this and be like, "You guys are crazy, and why did you tell me to watch this?"
Whether you like it or not, it's one of those films that you've got to give it credit for what it
goes for it.
It definitely goes for it, and so do all the actors in it.
Yes. They are all the performances. McConaughey, again, in the midst of his McConaissance, doing this alongside Mud and Killer Joe and all of the above. I mean, just so good.
What year did this movie come out, by the way?
2012.
Was it 2012?
2012. Yeah, so right in the McConaissance. But yeah, give it a whirl. Give it a try. A lot about race relations.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron's great.
Zac Efron, this is no High School Musical. This is him going for it.
Yes, he does. And he does a good job. It's a very solid effort. Yeah. And he's just as brave as everyone else in this cast, so we have to give props for that for
Definitely.
Sure. It is streaming instantly on Netflix. Mm-hmm. This one's going to be a little
Rent
short.
It if you dare.
Yeah, if you dare, because our computer is about to die, so we're trying to... But it is streaming instantly on Netflix, so check it out. And definitely let me know what you think about this one.
Yeah, we would love to hear your comments on this one in particular.
For sure. Because, I mean, we obviously always want to know what you guys
think.
Love it,
hate it, we want to hear.
I do. I want to hear, because this is one that you should see if you're curious.
Yeah.
But regardless, again, like Holly said, you're not going to see performances like this from A-list actors.
No. It's not one that's going to leave you anytime soon. Uh-oh.
We glitched.
We're glitching. And I think we're going to run out. So we wrap it up.
All right. It's done. We got to stop.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, that's it.
We got to say goodbye.
Follow us on Twitter.
I'm Holly.
I'm Clarke.
Payne.
We'll see you soon.